then we're eventually just going to have to say, this is not our war. It's Joe Biden's war. It's Vladimir Putin's war. It's not our war. We're going to try to end it, but if we can't end it, we're eventually going to say, you know what, that was worth a try, but we're not doing it anymore.
In this video, Tim Miller and JVL of The Bulwark have a discussion about the recent comments made by Vice President JD Vance, and they do not pull their punches, as they shouldn't. JD Vance is, well, he is a piece of work. We'll keep it clean. Tim Miller, a favorite of mine. Let's watch this together. I'm going to have some thoughts, and then I want to know what you think in the comments.
The Vice President of these United States, JD Vance, is just doing a masterclass in geostrategy and explaining about how this U.S. president views wars as belonging not to America or to NATO or to our alliances, but to other people, past presidents. Joe Biden's war. Tim, should we start out by listening to JD explaining the birds in the breeze?
I have a big rant cooked up on this one, so everybody just stick around. You got to suffer through 45 seconds of JD Vance first.
I'm not sure that Vladimir Putin has a strategy himself for how to unwind the war, of course, that's been going on for a few years now. And I think there's also just a little bit of, look, there is fundamental mistrust between Russia and the West. It's one of the things the president thinks is frankly stupid, that we should be able to move beyond the mistakes that have been made in the past, but that takes two to tango. I know the president's willing to do that, but if Russia's not willing to do that, then we're eventually just going to have to say, this is not our war. It's Joe Biden's war. It's Vladimir Putin's war. It's not our war. We're going to try to end it, but if we can't end it, we're eventually going to say, you know what, that was worth a try, but we're not doing it anymore.
There it is, Tim.
What a piece of shit this guy is, JVL. It's truly unbelievable. Like, his condescending manner is just so unappealing to start with, but obviously that's not the substantive issue here, but you can't go without mentioning it. The whole positioning he has here is just such a gift to Putin. Like, this is like the really important thing here. Like, this is JD Vance saying directly to Putin, if you keep stalling, we'll just get out of your way. You can do whatever you want.
Yes. That
is the message. Yes. That is the message from JD Vance here. He's saying that this war, we view this as Putin and Joe Biden's war. Why it's Joe Biden's war is unclear to me. It's just like he's just got to take a shot at the guy, off the prostate cancer diagnosis. It's like Joe Biden didn't do anything. Joe Biden tried to warn Zelensky that the war was coming. That's what Joe Biden tried to do. He tried to warn them and tried to stop it. But Joe Biden, we didn't do any. We're not omniscient. This is like the whole thing. It's like, it was the India-Pakistan conflict, Donald Trump's Kashmir conflict. Like, the whole thing is just moronic.
In fairness, Tim, Joe Biden did give weapons to Ukraine so they could defend themselves and didn't just allow them to be conquered. Whereas if Joe Biden had been Donald Trump, he would have just sat there and the Russians would own Ukraine and there wouldn't be any war.
Yeah, that's true. Vladimir Putin would be in Kyiv, and many more children would be kidnapped, and there'd be a lot more, a total despotism in Eastern Europe, rather. So that's true. I guess that in that sense, Joe Biden does have some accountability for trying to help Ukraine protect itself from invasion. The message here, there's the logical flaw, and then there's the strategic flaw. Even though on the strategic side, I'm not sure it's actually a flaw. It might be their intention. But on the logical flaw, it's this notion that that there are these things that happen in the past. There are these disagreements between Russia and the West. And Donald Trump is willing to move on from them. He is not going to, become all wrapped around the axle when it comes to the ways that, Russia has tried to combat the West, interfered in our elections, invaded free democratic countries. Like Donald Trump's willing to let bygones be bygones and all of that.
Currently massing troops near the border in Finland.
Yeah.
That's a thing that's happening, by the way.
Bygones be bygones. But Putin, if he doesn't want to let bygones be bygones, then I don't know what we can do. So that is the premise that is just totally flawed, right? Like this notion that was ever on the table, that Putin was ever interested in this, let's do happy, happy, joy, joy, and all past issues will be gone, and we'll just all live together in peace and harmony in a massive global kleptocracy where if you guys give me money and I give you money, then everything will be okay. That's not Vladimir Putin's not motivated purely by cash impulses like Donald Trump is. You can't just buy him off and can't just say, hey, Putin, we'll give you a new golf course in southern Ukraine. You'll be able to make some money on that. We'll maybe do a Putin coin. You'll be able to make some money on that. And then we'll call it good. That's not his motivations, okay? He has hegemonic territorial motivations, okay? Putin actually knows about history and cares about it. His history's wrong, but, he reads books. There's a lot of different elements. He's a very different person than Donald Trump. Okay, that's one.
And I'll just add here the obvious that this administration, and Donald Trump in particular, has no interest in governance. Has no interest in governance. It's all about self-enrichment, right? So all of the Make America Great Again, it's just a lie. It's just telling us what we, big collective American we, want to hear about prosperity again. But look at what they're doing, right? It's rip and run. It's tax cuts for the rich. It's siphoning even more money and services up away from the bulk of the American people, the vast, vast majority of the American people, to an increasingly small and smaller number of the already filthy rich. So, this idea of I don't want to think about it, let's just get out of the way, that makes perfect sense. And obviously it's bad for democracy around the world. If they haven't said it already, they will say it shortly. It's really about normalizing autocracy.
The second thing that is wrong is then the strategic side, which maybe it isn't wrong. Like I said, maybe he wants to just send this message to Putin. But by saying that if you don't come to the table, we're just going to give up, that's just incentivizing Putin not to come to the table. Why would Putin come to the table now?
Right. And this is ahead of, so today, Monday, Putin is going to have a phone call with Donald Trump. Afterwards, Trump will have a phone call with Vladimir Zelensky. Over the weekend, Zelensky offered to meet with Putin. Putin refused. The Ukrainians have tentatively agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. Putin has not. Over the weekend, the Russians launched their largest drone and missile attack on Ukrainian territory since the first day of the invasion. So escalating, not de-escalating. But you're right. I mean, I think it's important to understand here. Let's dispose the idea that JD Vance doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay.
Right.
Let's dispense with the idea. Was that the Marco Rubio line? Let's dispense with the idea. Let's dispense with the idea that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
JD Vance does know exactly what he's doing. And what he's trying to do is give Russia whatever it wants in a way that appears to be America first. And so by saying, well, they weren't willing to negotiate with us, and it's not our war. America first, we walk away. That is the way that he's trying to do what they really want, which is just let Putin have whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Putin is their ally.
Right.
Zelensky is not. They want Putin to have whatever he wants because they want whatever they want at home.
Correct.
And they are trying to normalize the idea of dictatorship. That is what this is all about. And that's great. JD, it's the condescension from this guy who is, I'm sorry, he's facile, but he isn't that smart. And this puffed up, well, let me tell you, I've been studying international relations for 15 minutes and I read the entire Wikipedia entry on the Ukraine. Fuck you.
Fuck you, JD.
Piece of shit.
Really? He's such a piece of shit. Yeah. He's the worst. One more element on this, just because you mentioned the phone call. They're still slightly, as you're pointing out, they're trying to get people comfortable with this, kind of warming up the water a little bit at the time, putting the toe, right? Kind of dipping your toe in the hot tub and slowly getting little elements of your skin in. And so it's possible that after that phone call today, the Trump and Vance will try to spin this as, we're making progress, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is, because they know that that there's still potential for backlash, right? If they just ripped the Band-Aid off right now, right? That's why JD is kind of putting the toe in the hot tub with this comment, right? And so there's still Republicans in the Senate that want them to try to do a good faith deal. And there's still, people in the public, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised. Who knows what'll happen today? I wouldn't be surprised though, if Trump does the phone call and they try to, kind of spin it as we're making small progress, we're making a deal, we have a sub deal or whatever. And like, that is why actually the Vance comments are so important this morning, because Putin can almost let them do that. Right?
Yeah.
And so Putin has the benefit of time now. Like JD Vance has just said once again, they said this before, they've reiterated that time is on your side. If you keep kicking the can, if you keep coming up with pretextual, post-textual reasons why you can't follow, the ceasefire agreement, if you just, agree to something and then blame Zelensky for it, the longer you do that, the more likely it is that these guys just walk away and give up. And so you're incentivizing Putin to do that. Right. Mm-hmm. And so as far as both sides are concerned, continuing to announce little fake deals, and slow rolling the abandonment is actually in everybody's interest. And so that's what I think is probably the most likely outcome of the call today. And I think that's important and it's very hard, for NBC nightly news to contextualize that appropriately,
Yeah. It's he's just trying to butch up, right? So that when we finally walk, it can be like, see, we walked because we're showing that we won't just sit around and be ignored. We're doing it. We're abandoning through strength. That's great. All right.
Well,
abandonment through strength. The Trump doctrine.
That's your little taste of JD Vance. I don't think we should make people listen to him for another day or two. That's enough.
Please,
That's enough for me.
It's going to be great when he's president in 2032.
I couldn't agree more, but I guess I'll just end on this little point that's also a strategy, right? I mean, if we are so grossed out by this, and hand in hand with that thought goes, well, what are you going to do? You just have to wait till this is over. We tune out. So the lies are the one thing, but then there's this also disgusting normalization of bizarro world logic, like they've been talking about this whole episode. And the natural result of thinking people is to go, ugh, I can't listen to this anymore, right? But if we stop listening, if we take our eyes off of what they're doing, they're more free to do it. So unfortunately, this has to get up to a point where turns into hell no, I won't take it anymore. And we all get to our feet and we stop it. And I know I'm not there yet, but it's definitely building, and I don't think we have a lot of time. Let me know what you think in the comments.